Hit it, Phil.
Can it be the breeze that fills the trees with rare and magic perfume? Oh, no, it isn't the breeze, it's Jackson time. La, da, da, da.
Well, hello again. This is Buck Benny speaking. I'm with my friend Terry Phillips, and hey, Terry, oh, you don't have your sign, Terry. You're not.
No, it wasn't working today, but
you broke your sign. That's so sad.
ImagineAirTheater.com. How about that?
Yes, and remember the dashes between Imagine and Air, or hyphens or whatever you want to call those things. And we have John Henderson over here from. John, what's the name of your thing again? I always get it wrong.
Yeah, it's This Day in Jack Benny. Imagine This Day in History, but you put Jack Benny in there.
Yes, and someday I will get it right.
Yeah,
we have Kathy, author of thousands of books on Jack Benny, or at least a few. Anyway, and she's with us, and so we're going to have just a great time here. Kathy, you were saying your next book is coming out in the spring?
Spring, summer. So
Okay.
Ben Omar is just a publishing. I mean, Wiz. He's got so many books coming out
Yes.
that he's looking for an open slot to start the next. But the next one's all ready to go, and then volume 3, and so we're down to trying to pick the color of the next cover. So that's
Nice.
I'm thinking of a kind of rainbow effect of sort of Jello colors. So that's if we
good.
start with the popular blue Jello. So
Yeah, it's like
that didn't work very well. But
yeah, had you thought of it? Yeah, it would have been cool to do the way they say it. Strawberry, orange, whatever.
yeah. Oh well, that's so.
It is what it is. All right. Well, today, of course, we have the Jack Benny Show to talk about. It's a kind of a fun one. I thought we'd continue a little bit with our Danny Thomas as he pops in here, not for long. It's not much on Danny Thomas, but mostly it's about Johnny Ray. That's his guest. And I think Johnny Ray is just interesting character, and where he fits in the musical scene is really interesting. And so it'll be good talking about that. And it ties into some of the Bing Crosby shows I've been presenting lately, and just discussions I've been having about pre-rock and roll sort of time frame that I think is just hugely interesting time frame in musical history. Anyway, let's start with the episode itself, and let's go with Terry. Did you find any interesting facts about anything going on in the episode, or you got any insight for us?
Yeah, I'll put it this way. This was an unusual, for me, it was an unusual episode for a couple of reasons. The first of which is that I don't know that I ever saw Jack Benny do much slapstick comedy, much physical comedy.
Right.
And without going into details, because I don't want to spoil it for our viewers.
Oh, well, I'm going to spoil the heck out of it, so don't worry.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, he went all out on this. Tearing his suit apart and falling all over everybody. I mean, it was really quite amazing. The other thing is in this is 1953, right?
Yeah.
And I just want to check the date. It was
November 15th.
November 16th. Yeah. So this was, interestingly enough, around the time that that Johnny Ray was facing some personal controversial problems. His sexuality started to become an issue. And it was kind of interesting that despite that, Jack Benny and Danny Thomas and, the others in Hollywood stood by him. He was a big star, of course, these huge hits, but they did not let that get in the way of working with him, promoting him, and enjoying his company.
Right.
The other thing that I thought of when I heard that Johnny Ray was going to be on the episode was that his big hit at the time, which he sings at the end, I think it was his first big hit, was the song "Cry."
Right.
Naturally, given my comedic bent, the first thing I thought of was the Stan Freberg parody version, which was called "Try."
Right.
That's right.
If you haven't heard that yet, it's definitely worthwhile, but you want to hear the original first to appreciate it.
Right.
The last thing I'll say about this episode is that it was really, really smooth. Even though they had a few bumps, it was obviously done live. They did not do any retakes. It was a really well-produced, professional, they'd figured out television by now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And yet it still had that old-time feel where the curtain goes up, and
Right.
it was as if you were in a theater watching this television program. So, from beginning to end, I was entertained by it. I was impressed by it. And I give it, if I had an extra hand, I'd give it 3 thumbs up.
Yeah, there you go. I totally agree
You
with
could
that,
get you that extra.
review of it. It's a great episode. It's why I presented it, because I thought it really captured what they could do live and how much growth they'd
Yeah.
had since
Yeah. And just it's since the first episode, yeah. It gets just 2 years before,
Yeah.
from October 50. Well, that's so
3 years. Yeah.
Kathy, math, whatever.
Yeah. Well, Kathy, so what did you think about the episode?
Well, like Terry, I was so impressed that this thing was done live, and indeed flowed so smoothly. I did like to find the little glitches, like Jack accidentally breaking Rochester's glass, and so in the one scene.
What do I do now?
Yeah. Oops. So, but and when he reacts to Johnny Ray, learning that must have been his real hair that he's pulling, because
Yeah.
it's like really long, and I think the toupee would have entirely come off. So I was interested in that. Doing the Wikipedia search for Johnny Ray, well, I learned that I knew nothing about Johnny Ray.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to know that he's just about at the same time as Elvis, just a little bit before.
Right.
I guess in early rock circles, he's considered a sort of someone who helped create,
Yes.
create
Yes.
room for Elvis. That his first record company was actually a race record company, and once so he was being marketed to black listeners back in the early 50s. And when he started to gain traction, they switched him over to to the white label. I thought that was kind of interesting. I'd never seen this one before. And it really was fascinating to put on my little scholar cap. What interesting gender dynamics to have Jack become a teenage girl,
Yes.
rending his clothes, and to capitulate in a very kind of un-Jack Benny-like way to pay him the $10,000.
Right.
As I said, if one was into sort of gender identity, if thinking about that makes this episode quite, I want to say unusual, and I wonder if it got any commentary from the critics. Of course, now I need to go find out.
Yeah.
Did anybody go,
next week on that?
That's oh no, outre, in the same way that some critics really got upset about Jack doing the Gracie Allen impersonation.
Right.
So if you start to pull these things together, I will mention one thing about Johnny Ray. Wikipedia says that he had a child with Dorothy Kilgallen.
Right.
So because her husband, it turned out, was gay, and they were in a sort of face-saving marriage after that.
Right.
But sort of Johnny and Dorothy had a relationship and had a child who was disinherited after Dorothy's death.
Wow.
Oh dear. So just fascinating history. And then I'm hoping John and Terry and Daryl, you might remind me more, because Johnny Ray was not only involved in the television show, but didn't they involve him in the radio show at this time? Didn't Dennis Day sing a version of Cry?
Yeah, that could be. I don't think he was ever.
I'm just gonna, they were talking about him a lot.
Yes.
And I think,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so to imagine back in the day, you are watching Jack Benny on television and listening to him on the radio, if you're that big a fan, and to think about these moments of, sort of transmedia narration,
Right.
moving back and forth between the two.
Well, you got to remember, it's kind of like Frank Sinatra, the Beatles, Elvis. They'd talk about them everywhere and on other people's TV
But
shows,
they were-
even that didn't feature him or anything, and they would do spoofs on the things that those folks would do on all the shows. So yeah, that's part of what Ray had going on. So you're gonna look it up.
I'm gonna look it up. I'm
While
gonna
you're
look
looking it up, let's go over to John and see what his impressions were.
Yeah, I can't remember any episode with Johnny Ray, although I
Oh.
did not know Johnny Ray by name.
Right.
Like when I read, oh, Jack Benny with guest star Johnny Ray, I was like, okay, whoever that is. But as soon as I saw him and he was doing his thing, I remembered. Kathy, did you find something?
I believe Dennis sings it months earlier, February 17th, 1952.
Yeah.
So a year right when it comes out, I guess
Right.
Dennis. So there
Yep.
we go.
Well, I've seen some clips from the Ed Sullivan Show, and I've got like the Best of Ed Sullivan Show DVD, and for a few seconds in there, there's a shot of Johnny Ray singing "Cry," and he is going for it even more than in this episode. He's
Oh.
grabbing his hair, and I think sort of like the idea of Jack becoming disheveled is partially a sort of a spoof of him, because he would be
That's-
he's so into it, the emotion, that he
Yeah.
can't help but cry. And
Oh, that's fabulous.
not only that, I think it might not have been the song "Cry." I think it might have been his follow-up song, "The Little White Cloud That Sat Down and Cried," or something like that.
Right.
Where he's like, boy, people love my cry songs, I better do another
Like a
one.
follow-up. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Well, and there's, where did you say you saw that clip on? What show was it?
That was on the Ed Sullivan Show. I think it was like the
Okay.
Best of the Ed Sullivan Show, or
Okay.
Volume 2 or something.
I believe he's also, I'm pretty darn sure that they redid this bit on the Shower of Stars, the show that Jack would be on from time to time. I almost grabbed that one to bring out. So at some point we'll also watch that one, because I think it'll be interesting to get a piece of this. It's definitely, that would be, I would assume, a couple years later, because they all seem to come from 56, 57, 58 sort of time frame for the Shower of the Stars. So
Yeah.
that'll be interesting.
And I love the whole thing about the reason Jack goes over to see him and all of that. That's all hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Um,
And the Rochester bits with Jack and the Don's there and thing. It's just
yeah.
nice to see them all together in Jack's house, or what's supposed to be Jack's house, versus the studio and things. That's kind of nice.
I so appreciate, John, you're telling me about that, because this is one of my frustrations with academic research on Jack Benny and things like gender or sexual identity. A media scholar will take one little clip and then build a whole world out of it. With this marvelous performance of Eddie Anderson and Don Wilson singing the song, I would dearly love to show that because to media scholars, because ones who want to disparage the Rochester role as being, sort of racist and denigratory,
Right.
will only show the clip of him dancing with the sportsman, where he's in his work, dusting clothes and dancing
Right.
with a broom, and they will say, "Oh, how belittling that
Right.
is." Whereas the performance in this episode is anything but. It's professional, smooth. It's got equality, total equality to it.
Well, if anything, Don Wilson's sort of a bit lumbering, especially compared to Rochester.
Exactly.
I love the 50s style of dance. I thought that was so charming. And the whole bit with Rochester is hilarious, especially at the beginning with him, just ignoring the phone, and how that builds and builds, and we find out why and all that. I love that. That was so funny.
It's a great bit. There's great bits throughout this thing, so I love it. Let me go back to Johnny Ray just for a minute, just because I just think it's such an interesting time frame. Like you say, it's pre-Elvis, pre-rock and roll, really, and it's a time frame where I've had a lot of discussions lately about it. The two people that really come to mind for me as kind of a beginning of, there were so many angles on the beginning of rock and how rock came to be, that you have like certainly R&B, it's coming up through there, but then you also have other people that just the ability to do things that you didn't have before, the coming of kind of the electronic electric guitar and the being able to multi-track things where you couldn't multi-track before. You had to record everything live. And I guess the epitome of that is probably Les Paul and Mary Ford, who Les is so interesting to see on YouTube. You can watch interviews with him and you can watch performances from him from that time frame. I mean, he was all over the place. But just the fact that basically Bing Crosby said, look, we've got this multi-track machine. You seem like a guy who could do a lot with it. Why don't you take one of them and see what you can do? So he takes that and creates his whole sound. And his sound is essentially, he just layers guitar after guitar after guitar. He'll have 24 tracks of guitar tracks on top of each other to make a recording. And then he's got Mary Ford singing and harmonizing with herself on like 12 different tracks of Mary Ford. And so you'll have this incredible wall of sound that they create. And it definitely, you go, what is that? And it's essentially rock. I mean, sort of before rock, and because I don't know what else you'd call it. And you listen to those songs and they're just amazing. And I love the fact that he didn't years later, everybody would go on and be like, oh, no, I play everything live. I don't, nothing, you know, I don't dub anything or sync anything. And like everybody does syncs everything. Most of the Stones, they don't even have their guitars plugged in or anything. They're just sitting there, you know, strumming them and things. So anyway, so he would go on and he would essentially just play the recording. But what's so cool is he'd play the recording, but he would then add a new part to it. So he wouldn't just try and play along with it. He'd actually add something to it. And then so would Mary. She'd harmonize with herself. So you essentially, every time they played, you'd get another version of that song that's never existed before. And then the next time they do it again, and they do it again. And so, and it's just so interesting to see that happen. Then the other angle you have, besides the beginning of rock and where he takes place with that, is the whole screaming girl losing it sort of thing, which essentially started, I think, with Frank Sinatra was sort of the first one that seemed to, where people just lost control and you just said, that person is gone. They're just gone. They can't even function because they're so into his music at the time, and swooning and the whole thing, people passing out and so forth. And Johnny Ray then took up that mantle, and then Elvis took it to a whole nother level, and then the Beatles took it even beyond that. But to have Jack yet again, like so often happens with Jack, he kind of predicts the future and where it's going, that he loses it to a point on this, like Terry was saying, that is just beyond losing it. And yet you look at that and you think, for Johnny Ray or for Frank Sinatra, you're like, okay, that's pushing it. That's over the top. But when you look at Elvis and you look at the Beatles, you're going, it's really not that over the top. They would be chased down by people. And I swear some of the girls would be like, if I could just get Paul's left arm disattached and take it home with me, that would be my trophy and it would be great. And it would be a wonderful thing. And so these performers had to start worry about their safety, and that people are trying to rip their clothes off and rip their hair out and and that is essentially what Jack kind of shows in this. And I just think it's great how Jack continues to be able to push the boundaries and get further. And then the underlying subtext, like Kathy is saying, of the sexual subtext of him being a man that's losing it with this performer, is just an interesting piece as well. So just an all around interesting episode, well worth a watch. Do we have from any of you guys, anything else you want to point out about the episode, or are we good?
Oh, I'd just like to mention the marvelous dancing cigarettes, the opening advertisement commercial that's all animated.
Well, that's the other thing, Kathy, about this one. Why I picked this one, because you mentioned, I think last week or the week, whatever, one of these weeks, that too bad this one didn't have commercials and things. And so I thought, oh, here's one with commercials in. And so I think watching it with the commercials in is so interesting to see what they would do with their commercials.
And look for a plug at the end.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, definitely. Oh, and Danny Thomas's piece, we'll bring that up in that he's just on right at the end, right?
That's right.
That's right. Okay. Because I was watching a clip of him. I thought it was from this episode, but it wasn't. And it's where he's heckling Jack, because Jack says he didn't have time to fit him into the episode. And so he's like, yeah, you don't have time. Like there's no time in this whole episode where you can actually fit me. You know, he just constantly, everything Jack says, he's undercutting him. And it's a fun little scene that they do there. Again, where Jack is completely okay with people totally messing with him. And you can't see Bob Hope do that or anybody else do that. They just wouldn't. And so it's unique. And that's what's so great about Jack, is his comedy is so unique, and there's no one else really like him ever. I mean, even I'm thinking of Johnny Carson's the closest I can think of, but Johnny Carson doesn't let people like ridicule him to the point that Jack does at all. I mean, I can't remember. The closest thing I can think of it is Jack when they had the dog food commercial and Johnny gets down and is actually acting like he's eating the dog food. He might even be eating the dog food. I can't remember if he committed that far to the part or not. But anyway, everybody enjoy this episode, and we'll see you next time. Great show.
From Television City in Hollywood, we bring you the Jack Benny program with his special guest, Johnny Ray, presented by Lucky Strike.
Do-da-do-da-do-da. Lucky's tastes better.
Cleaner, fresher, smoother.
Lucky's tastes better.
Cleaner, fresher, smoother. For Lucky Strike means fine tobacco, richer tasting fine tobacco.
Lucky's tastes better.
Cleaner, fresher, smoother. Lucky Strike, Lucky Strike.
You can actually see why Lucky's taste better when you strip the paper from a Lucky by tearing down the seam. First, you see Lucky's are made better, made round and firm and fully packed to draw freely and smoke evenly. And second, you see Lucky's are made of long strands of fine, light, naturally mild tobacco. Everybody knows LSMFT. Lucky Strike means fine tobacco. So remember,
Lucky's tastes better.
Cleaner, fresher, smoother.
Lucky's tastes better.
Cleaner, fresher, smoother. Lucky Strike, Lucky Strike.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Lucky Strike program. Well, here I am again. And you know, as much as I like television, and I do, you know, I'm really crazy about television, the only thing that bothers me is that I hate the fact that we have to have our rehearsals, you know, every Saturday and Sunday. Because in that way I have to miss all of the big football games that we have, you know, particularly this time of year. And, you see, I love football, you know, I'm such a fan of football. As a matter of fact, I played football when I was a kid. You know, I used to play with the Waukegan Wildcats. And, of course, this was years and years ago, you know, way, way back. As a matter of fact, we had the Statue of Liberty play before there was a Statue of Liberty. And, of course, the game, football, was so much rougher in those days. Were you ever stopped on the 20-yard line by a tomahawk? You know, that's about the silliest thing I'll say today, I think. No, really, in those days, you know, when they cheered for the Indians, they didn't mean Stanford. Well, anyway, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, as you probably know, by the way, Mary, how do I look in Palm Springs? She's there right now. You know, as you probably know, today, on my television show, my guest star is Johnny Ray. And I must tell you that I almost did not get him for this show. And, you know, I didn't sign the contract until a week ago. It was a week ago last Thursday. That's right, a week ago last Thursday. You know what happened? Well, let me show you. Let me show you exactly what happened in order for me to get... Must have hung up. I wonder who... Rochester.
Oh, hello, boss.
You've been sitting here all the time?
Uh-huh.
With the phone. Didn't you hear the phone?
Uh-huh.
Well, why didn't you answer it?
This is my day off.
Well, Rochester, even if it is your day off, couldn't you pick up the receiver? And anyway, if your day off is so precious, you know, if it means so much to you, what are you doing sitting here? Why didn't you go out?
I had nobody to go out with.
Oh, well, what about the girl you went out with the last time I gave you a day off?
Since then, she got married and has 2 children.
Oh, she threw you over, eh, and fell in love with somebody else.
Oh, no, boss. She still loved me, but she married this other fellow on account of money.
Money, huh? You mean he was rich?
No, but he had some.
Hey, Rochester, you know, I had a real tough day today.
You did?
Yeah. Had to rehearse my radio show and take a lot of publicity pictures. Boy, I'm really tired out.
You are?
Mm-hmm. You know, I was thinking on the way home, too. Here it is, Rochester's day off, and I'll be all alone. I'll have to fix my own lunch. Gee, I'm glad you stayed home. You know, I don't even know where the eggs are.
You'll find them in the refrigerator.
Oh, all right. I'm going to fix myself a cheese omelet or something. Rochester, are you sure the eggs are in the refrigerator?
Yeah, you'll find them on the top shelf.
Oh, yeah. Well, they couldn't have been in here very long. One of the eggs is still warm.
Put on your glasses. You got the light bulb.
Rochester, where's the frying pan?
In the drawer in the stove.
Look, Maestro, I hate to bother you all the time. See, but how do you make a cheese omelet? I mean, what do you have to use besides eggs?
Well, some cheese and some milk, and if you like it kind of thick, add a little flour.
Flour, huh? Where's the flour?
In the right-hand cupboard on the bottom shelf.
Oh, yeah.
Ah! Look out for the mousetrap! You'll find some cheese.
I got some. Let's see.
Boss, there's someone at the door.
I hear it.
He's coming! He's coming!
I'm coming.
Between the phone ringing and the door buzzer, I'm a nervous wreck.
Hello, Don.
Hi, Jack.
Come on in.
How are you?
Come on in.
Good to see you. Oh, hello, Rochester.
Oh, hello, Mr. Wilson.
Jack, what's the matter with Rochester? Why didn't he answer the door?
This is his day off, so he stayed in the house. He didn't feel like going anyplace. Look at Don. I'm fixing lunch here, a cheese omelet. You want to come in the kitchen and help me, and I'll fix it for both of us.
No, Jack. No more food for me. Not me. I don't want any more food, you know.
Don, you?
That's right.
Well, what happened?
Well, now, I'll tell you what happened, Jack. You know, for the past 3 months, I've been on a very strict diet.
Uh-huh.
Well, I don't know what happened, but I'm just tired of carrying around 260 pounds.
Well?
Well, this morning, when I got on the bathroom scales after I took my shower, I found I weighed 215 pounds.
Well, what are you mad about? 215 pounds. That means you lost 45 pounds.
Yeah, that's what I thought. When I found out my stomach was hanging on the wash basin.
Oh, Don, you made that up, huh?
Yeah.
That's a wonderful joke. We can use it on the radio show.
You like that?
Yeah. Rochester, that's a wonderful joke. Why didn't you laugh?
This is my day off.
Excuse me, Don. I'm going to fix myself an omelet here.
Okay, Jack.
Gosh, Roch.
Glad he left the room.
Why?
I was afraid he's going to ask me about the commercial I'm supposed to do on the television show, and I just can't think of an idea.
Well, Mr. Wilson, it shouldn't be hard to think of nice things to say about Lucky Strikes.
Oh, I don't have any trouble with that, Rochester, but I want a musical commercial, and doggone it, I just can't come up with anything.
Well, what about that old song that's becoming very popular again, when the Red, Red Robins come bobbing along?
We just did that on radio.
Oh, yeah.
Look, Rochester, I've used about 20 matches. Now, how do you like the stove there?
It's electric. Mr. Wilson?
Yeah?
I know a song that you could use. It's one of my favorites, too.
What is it?
On the Sunny Side of the Street.
Hey, that's a great song, Rochester. You think it'll lend itself to the commercial?
Oh, I don't see why not. You could do something like, wait, I tell you what, you could do something like this. Grab your coat and get your hat. Leave your worries on the doorstep. Just direct your feet to the lucky side of the street.
Yeah.
Smoke an LSMFT and you'll never have a rough puff. Life can be so sweet on the lucky side of the street. Just let your taste tell you why. Lucky Strike you should buy. And you'll say, me oh my, what smoothness and mildness. Yes, it's LSMFT. Lucky Strike means fine tobacco. Just direct your feet to the lucky side of the street. Can you do that? Lucky Strike you should buy. And you say, me oh my, what smoothness and mildness. Yes, it's LSMFT. Lucky Strike means fine tobacco. Just direct your feet to the lucky, I said the lucky side of the street.
All right, really, that was a great idea. Wonderful. Thanks, fella. Thanks a lot.
Anytime, Mr. Wilson.
Okay. I'll get it.
Oh, darn it, there's someone at the door.
Don't worry, boss.
Oh, thanks, Rochester.
Mr. Wilson's getting it.
Who is it, Don?
Messenger boy, Jack, he brought this envelope for you.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Don. Hey.
Jack. Jack, I gave the boy a quarter tip.
Oh, that was nice of you, Don. Hey, Don, This is the contract that Johnny Ray sent over. You know, he's going to be on my television show.
It's great, Jack. You're awful lucky to get him.
I'll say I am. Give me a pen. Where's the pen?
Here. Here's mine, Jack.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Don. Boy, I'm really going to... I'm tickled to death I could get Johnny Ray for this show. See, Hey, wait a minute.
What's the matter, Jack?
I'm not going to sign a thing like this.
Why not?
Well, he's got a lot of nerve for asking for this kind of money.
How much?
He wants $10,000.
Look, Jack, I know $10,000 is a lot of money, but Johnny's worth it.
Who's worth $10,000?
Look, Johnny Ray always gets that much money for his personal appearances.
He always gets $10,000?
Yes.
Then why is he crying all the time? Look, Don, I'm not giving him. Now, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. I'm going over to his house and tell him a thing or two.
Wait just a minute, Jack. Calm down a little bit. Now, please don't make a fool of yourself. After all, Johnny Ray's a big star, and his singing style is so unique. Why, Jack, I saw Johnny on a show once, and he had the women in the audience just hysterical. They really were in ecstasy. Why, they even tore off pieces of their clothing and threw them up on the stage.
Oh, Don, that's a lot of foolish, emotional women. If he thinks I'm going to give him $10,000 for this one performance, he's got another guest coming. Now, I'm going over there and tell him a thing or two right now.
Look, Jack, I go right by Johnny's house on my way home. You want me to drop you off?
Yes, Don, thanks.
All right,
I'll go
come
over
on.
there right now and find out. So long, Rochester. I'll see you later.
They're on the piano, Mr. Ray.
Thank you.
How do you do? I'm Jack Benny. Is Mr. Ray in? I'd like to speak to him, please.
Yes, he is. I'll tell him you're here.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Hi, Jack.
Oh, hello, Johnny. Hello.
Sit down, make yourself at
Thank
home.
you. Thank you very, very much. Thanks.
Anything I can do for you?
No, not a thing. Johnny, I just came over here. I wanted to talk to you about your appearance on my television show.
Jack, I've been doing a lot of thinking about that. It's going to be a lot of fun.
For you, yes. Look, Johnny, you know, I got that contract you sent over, you see, and I couldn't think of signing a thing like this.
You mean the deal is off?
No, it's not off entirely. I mean, I don't want to sign the contract you gave me, but I brought a contract over myself that I'd like to have you sign. Something wrong?
This is a contract?
Yes.
Jack, I've been around the world twice, and my ticket was shorter than that.
Well, Johnny, you see, I've given the same contract to every member of my radio cast, and they've been with me over 15 years.
You mean they signed it?
Well, I'm hoping they will. They haven't finished reading it.
Well, Jack, I thought that the contract that my agent sent over was more than fair. Why don't you sign it and set a deal?
Look, Johnny. Now, as I told you, I gave this contract to Don Wilson, to Dennis, to Bob Crosby, and to Mary. And look, here's a pen. Here's Don's pen. Sign this contract.
Jack, you must be kidding with this salary you want to pay me. $2,500?
Oh, let's see. That's a mistake. That's a little mistake. That's $250.
$250?
Yeah. What's the matter? The clause? Oh.
What's this clause here, Jack, where I have to pay you $1,000 commission?
Oh, that's 10% of the $10,000 that you want, you see? Oh, Johnny, don't read that next clause. That even embarrasses me.
Now, look, Jack, this is getting us no place. If you want me to be on your television show, you're going to have to sign the contract that my agents drew up.
Well, look, now, wait a minute, Johnny. Let's talk this over. I'm not paying any $10,000 a week, and what's the use of kidding about it? I'm not going to give you $10,000.
Well, Jack, I sing a couple of songs in a nightclub and I get that kind of money.
I'd like to hear the songs that are worth $10,000.
Well, Jack, I want to be fair with you. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll sing a couple of tunes, and you be the judge of what they're worth.
Oh, all right, go ahead. $10,000.
Don't talk about me when I'm gone. Oh, you know you're gonna miss your loving daddy from now on. And just remember, if you can't say things that sound real nice, well, you better keep your little mouth shut. That's your daddy's advice. Now listen to me. You go your way, I gotta go mine. It's sad, but it's true. But now here's a little kiss, and I hope that this my gals are getting kind of funny. Makes no difference how I carry on. Oh, just remember, please don't talk about me. Well, now, please don't talk about me. Don't talk about me, baby, when I'm gone. If your sweetheart it's no secret you'll feel better if you cry when waking from a bad dream. Don't you sometimes think it's real, but it's only false emotions that you feel. If your heart ain't into love and country keep getting bluebird with each sunshine can be found behind a cloudy sky. So let your head down and go for me and cry. If your heart keep getting bluebird, with each song. Sunshine can be found behind a cloudy sky. So let your head go.
Jack will be back. Yes, Johnny Ray. But first, the word to the tobacco smokers.
One of America's most colorful and exciting events, the tobacco auction. The rapid-fire chant of the auctioneer as he calls out the bids on a basket of tobacco. The alert tobacco buyers, key men in the drama of the auction, men of sound judgment and years of experience in tobacco buying. Here, one buyer has found a basket of exceptional quality, leaf of almost perfect color, weight, and texture. He signals his bid, but other buyers want this prime light leaf. The price goes higher and higher, but when the top bid is made, it is sold, American. Sold to the American Tobacco Company, the makers of Lucky Strike. Another basket of light, mild, fine tobacco. Yes, at auction after auction, year after year, the makers of Lucky's consistently buy the light, the mild, the good-tasting tobacco. That's why you can be sure that Lucky Strike means fine tobacco. Fine tobacco in a better-made cigarette. A round, firm, fully packed cigarette, which just naturally adds up to better taste. After all, smoking enjoyment is all a matter of taste, and the fact of the matter is, Lucky's taste better, cleaner, fresher, smoother. So be happy. Go Lucky with a carton.
I finally gave him $15,000. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You were a wonderful audience. I'd like to bring my guest star back again, Johnny Ray. Just a minute. It was really wonderful having you on the
Jack,
program.
believe me, it was all my pleasure.
Thanks.
And as you know, I'm appearing at Cyril's here, and I want you to come out tonight and be my guest.
Oh, for dinner? Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
As a matter of fact, it's a good friend of ours in the wings right now that's going to come out and join us.
Friend about who?
Danny Thomas.
Oh, Danny. Danny Thomas. Come on out here. Danny, this gives me, I'm glad you're here, it gives me an opportunity to congratulate you on your own television show, Make Room for Daddy, and to welcome you with the Lucky Strike, with the American Tobacco Company family. We're all with that family now.
Thank you very much, Jack. And now that I am working for the American Tobacco Company, too, I'd like to ask you a little favor.
What is it, man?
I mean, think you could take a little cut in salary?
I should take a cut? Why?
Well, I've been on for 7 weeks and they haven't had enough to pay me.
What?
Well, I mean, let's make room for Daddy, kid.
Well, Daddy, I'll think about it. But your show is really wonderful.
Thanks, I'm glad you like it.
You better get started for Cyril's, and remember, tonight, you're my guest.
Oh, hold it, John. No, the treat is on me tonight. Thanks.
But I'm working there, no?
That doesn't matter. No, I answer. You fellas are going to be my guests, and that's the way it's going to be.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's flip a coin.
What?
I said, let's flip a coin.
Flip a coin? Okay. And
you mean the three of us?
Yeah, the odd man loses.
The odd man?
Odd man,
Let's
yeah.
see. Have you got a coin?
Okay.
The odd man.
Odd man.
I got tails.
I got tails.
The odd man loses.
You've got heads?
Yeah.
If the waiter brings a check that seems too high,
It's no secret you feel better if you cry.
all right, go over.
Ladies and gentlemen, next weekend, Southern I'll be back.
Remember, 1 week from tonight on this same station, Ann Southern returns in Private Secretary. The Jack Benny program has been brought to you by Lucky Strike, product of the American Tobacco Company, America's leading manufacturer of cigarettes. This is Don Wilson saying, be happy, go lucky.
Sundays, Ed Sullivan's Toast of the Town on the CBS Television Network.